Should there be another referendum on Scottish independence? The Scottish Government says yes, but the UK Government says no. And today, those campaigning for a second vote hit a major obstacle. That's because this man, Lord Reid, the President of the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, has ruled, along with 4 other judges, that the Scottish Parliament is not allowed to hold another vote without Westminster's permission. Now, Nicola Sturgeon, the SNP leader, said she was disappointed by the ruling, but respected it. However, she also said Scottish democracy will not be denied. So what's next? Well, let's speak to our reporter, Alan Jenkins, who's in Edinburgh. Good evening, Alan. Where do the SNP go from here?
Evening, Andy. Well, clarity is what they wanted, and that is exactly what they've got today. And it does mean that the next general election will be treated by Nicola Sturgeon as a de facto referendum. The people gathering at rallies like this one in Edinburgh tonight and across Scotland will be disappointed by this. For them, this is a denial of democracy.
From the river to the sea, Scotland shall be free.
8 years on from Scotland deciding, now it was the turn of judges at the Supreme Court to make up their minds. SNP MPs and independent supporters watching closely as it was ruled whether Holyrood could hold another referendum without Westminster's backing. And it was a clear answer.
The Scottish Parliament does not have the power to legislate for a referendum on Scottish independence.
That rejection meant Nicola Sturgeon switching from Plan A to Plan B today, treating the next UK general election as a de facto referendum.
Seeking to establish that opinion through an election is not my preferred option. If it was my preferred option, I wouldn't have spent so much time and will continue to try to secure an agreed referendum. But what I'm not prepared to do is to allow Scottish democracy to be a prisoner of Westminster, which effectively means Scottish democracy doesn't exist.
First Minister, what do you say to our viewers watching this? We are more concerned about the cost of living crisis right now, and we'll hope this ruling means you stop focusing on another referendum.
I think a lot of people across Scotland who are concerned about the cost of living crisis will be disappointed by this ruling because they see independence as not just the best, but the only way to free Scotland from the Westminster control that has put our economy again into crisis.
Her new plan a risky move, according to this expert on the Constitution. Has she thought this through properly in terms of this strategy?
All the signs are that she didn't really think through the notion of a de facto referendum. Some of the very obvious things that one would have thought that she, or at least her advisors, would have brought to her attention, just seemed to have come as a surprise. And it now looks as if she may be backtracking on some of that. She's now saying that she's taking some of these big questions like what would constitute 50%? Would it include the votes of the Greens or Alba? She's taking that to her conference. She's also taking back to her party the question as to what they should do in the event of 50%. Now, one would have thought that this would have been thought through in great detail.
Polling does remain split on independence. In Leith, some were all for another vote.
Yeah, there should be. Oh, of course, always.
Maybe one day, yeah, but I don't know when it's going to be.
Others not so keen.
God, no.
We've had one. One's enough. Everybody's fed up with this.
This unionist politician agrees, saying it's all a distraction from domestic matters.
We had a vote in 2014. At that point, Nicola Sturgeon said this would be a once-in-a-generation vote.
But things change, don't they? I mean, Brexit happened, for example, and a lot of people in Scotland perhaps aren't happy with that.
Lots of things have changed. We have a health service in crisis in Scotland. We have tomorrow the first teacher strike in Scotland in a generation.
There will now be no repeat of the 2014 vote, which had been set for October next year. Today's ruling isn't a shock, but in this constitutional battle, it will entrench positions further.
So, Alan, we saw you raising this question with Nicola Sturgeon there. Is this issue of another referendum really at the forefront of the minds of Scottish people right now?
Andy, talking to people in Edinburgh today, many people we spoke to are really worried about how they pay their bills, about the cost of living crisis. And it's something that the Prime Minister touched on as he responded to this ruling, saying that the people of Scotland want us to be working on fixing the major challenges that we collectively face. As you said, Andy, I asked Nicola Sturgeon about the cost of living crisis and the idea of a referendum, and she said that independence would mean that people could move away from poor decision making on things like the economy. That is something that people here at this rally will agree with, but for them this is very much about democracy. Remember, there is a pro-independence majority here at Holyrood, and people here, their view will be if you can't leave a union of consent with a referendum, can you ever leave it?